You're now listening to the 1130 podcast. Enjoy the show.
Nasty, hateful, insane nation that ever existed.
Yo, what it do, everybody? It's your man Dre, aka Dre on Wheels. Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the 1130 podcast. What's good, everybody doing out there? We made it back here, man. You know what time it is. It's not 7:30. It's 11:30. It's time for the podcast show, man. Appreciate everyone tuning in here on YouTube. If you're new to the show, if you're new to the podcast, definitely do me a huge big favor, man. For real, it's a dope podcast show, man. Definitely hit that subscribe button down below, like it, leave a comment, and share it, man. And also, don't forget to follow the 1130 podcast on all social media platforms. But you guys, man, on a back-to-back episodes on this Wednesday, I got an awesome guest that's joining me coming up in just a bit, you guys. Marcia, she's the host of the Special Needs Parents podcast. Yes, man, it's going to be awesome having her here on this week's episode of the podcast show. It's going to be great talking with her on everything she got going on, man, for real. So that's going to be great. Marcia is the host of the Special Needs Parents podcast. As well, you guys, coming up, I will be a guest on her podcast. Yes, the Special Needs Parents podcast. So it's going to be a wonderful, great talk. But we ain't going to waste no more time. We're going to get into the show. Marcia is coming up in just a bit. But before we get to Marcia, man, I just want to say, you guys, I want to thank everyone out there for all the major support. I want to first off start saying I thank everyone out there for all the major support who followed the 1130 podcast on all the social media accounts, who bought a t-shirt, bought a hoodie, shared the podcast, who shared every week. I thank you guys so much, man. Me here at the podcast, man, I got people who are behind me, who push me, who motivate me, whether it's my family, whether it's, other ones that I, barely even know. I went to the store the other day, and there's a guy who be in there every now and then, and I was rushing. I was rushing because it was raining. It was raining so hard. I believe it was Saturday. Yeah, Saturday. I went to the store early in that morning. I was like, all right, real quick, right across the street, but it looked like it was about to thunderstorm. And I go in there, and one of the guys that's, normally in there, he's in there. And I'm like, all right, man, I'm trying to hurry up and, get what I want and run back across the street before it starts pouring down, raining. And the dude just starts talking to me. He starts, man, yo, man, I find you, I find you to be very big inspiration. I admire you. He actually said, I admire you. I admire what you do, man. You don't never let nothing stop you. You don't never let nothing, basically stop you from doing what you have to do, or stop you from, going to the store, doing this, doing that, stuff like that. So I definitely admire you. And I was like, yo, man, I don't think it's the time, but I definitely appreciate it a lot, man, and he took the time out his day and his time to tell me that. He saw me a couple other times, and many people that I've spent the time with on this podcast and on the wrestling podcast, or just chatting with in life in general, man, definitely find me to be a big inspiration, man. I don't let nothing really stop me. It's always been challenges throughout my life. Everyone has challenges, man, that they face. Everyone got a disability. You can't see it. It might be physical. It might be mental. Whatever the case is, man. But my physical disability never let nothing really stop me from accomplishing or doing what I really need to do, man, or what I set out to do. And what I set out to do is do this podcast every week, man. And I'm here back-to-back episodes, second episode of the day, and I got Marcia coming up in just a bit. So I just want to let everyone know, man. I was just talking with a gentleman, and he was talking about how he was podcasting for 3 years, and I was telling him how this December will be 4 years. 4 years, man. Like, wow, I didn't even know I was doing this for that long. I guess that's how much fun you have and you get into something. Time just flies by. But I was just saying, he also said, man, people who do, podcasting or whatever you want to do, man, there's days where it's rough, days that you might just want to lay in the bed, days that you just feel like you want to give up. No, hey, some days it's good to take a rest day. It really is. But some days that you don't, you feel like you just, want to give up, and you can't give up, man. You got to keep pushing. You got to go hard at it, especially if you have little ones looking up to you now. I have a little one. It's 9 months, man, and man, he is awesome. He is awesome. A little man can cry though. I tell you that much. I was just talking to his mom not the other day. I was just like, man, oh, man, I didn't think I would be able to do this, and I don't know if some people had doubts that we could, because I talked about it on one of the first episodes back in September after Amir was born. How CPS was called on us and stuff like that, and how the woman in the hospital felt like, you know, I mean, these two people in a wheelchair. I mean, what could they do? So man, don't let nothing stop you. And like I said, people might have had doubt and stuff like that, and which they did, but we have showed that, yo, man, we could raise them. And like I said, one thing, everything has been good, but dude, little man can cry, man. Little man can go at it and he can cry, boy. I tell you, as soon as somebody leave out, we both leave out the room, he can go for it. He can go for it. For real. One of his cousins came over. He see him, every now and then, and he just started crying. I said, "Come on, man, stop crying, man. That's your cousin." But just being a dad, man, and I got a little one, and I gotta look up. He looks up to me, and and when I get in podcast mode, he be like, "Oh, okay, all right, what you about to do, Daddy? What you about to, do?" So I'm loving it. His birthday in a couple of months, man, and just being a dad and just being that representation that you know I quite didn't have. I had father figures, but just being it for him, that's what it's all about, man. For real, that's what it's all about. And just, staying blessed, man. For real. Everyone always will talk about, man, what a real guy is, or being that real street man. Nah, man. Being real is taking care of your responsibilities and doing what you got to do, man. Not trying to prove to other people how real you are and what you got and stuff like that. So, I just thought I'd say that in the beginning of the episode, man. But yo, man, I got Marcia coming up, you guys, man. We about to get into it right now. We ain't gonna waste no more time, for real. The host of the Special Needs Parents Podcast, the wonderful Marcia, is joining me here in just a bit. Before she come on, I explained that how I talked about how I grew up with a disability, and how I grew up overcoming multiple challenges and walking and getting in the wheelchair age 14, and never known that I would be a parent. And now life comes, all the way around for you. And now I'm a parent. I'm a special needs parent, and I'm taking care of, we are taking care of a wonderful little boy. So this is amazing, man. I tell you, a lot of people said a lot of doors will open up for you, and different conversations and topics will when you become a parent. But since that out the way, you guys, man, wonderful, awesome guest, Marcia, that's joining me here on the 11:30 podcast. How's it going? How's it going?
Hi, DeAndre.
How's
Things
it?
are really good. I'm here in Trinidad, which is at the bottom of the Caribbean chain, so it's nice and warm. And
Mhm.
I'm in the mood for some beach time, actually.
Okay, you're gonna move some for some beach time. That's cool. That's cool. How life treating you? How's everything?
Things have been really busy, but I mean, it's busy for everyone, isn't it? You
Yes.
have dreams and you have things that you feel that you need to get done. And the only way to make a difference is to pick yourself up even when you have lots of things to worry about and start working on one that matters.
Hey, I like that. You're right about that. You got to pick yourself up and work on the stuff that matters in life, though. All right. That's cool. That's cool. Well, look here. I appreciate you once again for coming through here on the 11:30 podcast show. But we won't waste no more time. For my listeners and viewers, since it's your first time here on the podcast show, tell everyone about yourself.
So, hi everybody. I'm so glad to be on with DeAndre. I think what he does is so inspiring. And I looked at his little intro video and I was kind of grooving in the way that I groove, which isn't so cool, but it still felt good. Um, I'm a parent to two kids. I have a teenage son, he's 16, and I have an 11-year-old girl. My daughter has been brain injured and bedridden for 10 years. She was hurt when she was 8 months old. And this 10-year journey has been a really life changing one. It's one that showed me that the things I thought mattered 10 years ago really weren't the most important things. It's not about the things that you can see, it's not about the things that you can hold, unless it's the people that you love. And getting her back after she flatlined taught me that I needed to throw my priorities out and build a whole new set of priorities, a whole new life. Um, and it put me also in a feeling that I was trapped, that all of my dreams had died, that I was stuck in always having to live in fear, not knowing what to do to help her because she was vegetative at the beginning of the journey and she was expected to stay vegetative for life. But we didn't choose to believe that. Like, statistics can only tell you so much. In fact, statistics can be the coffin that you choose to bury your family, your dreams, and your child in. And it didn't feel like I needed to listen to what the doctor's statistics said. I didn't want to believe that my child was relegated to a bed for the rest of her life. I didn't want to believe that she'd never see, hear, move, do any of those things for the rest of her life. And luckily, my husband felt the same. So my husband and I and my son started just living in joy with our daughter, taking the cue from her that she was going to wake up every morning and be happy. And she would never see that there was something lacking in her. She didn't know that she was different from anybody else. So she'd wake up every morning, and as her hearing came back, she would hear the birds outside, and she would laugh the most joyful laugh. And one day, 7 years after the whole journey had started, I opened my eyes in my bed and I was like, let me put this load on my back again. Same old day. Lord, you really are wearing me down. Um, I don't know how to keep living this over and over. The pain is getting to me, the fear is getting to me, the darkness of this journey is getting to me. And in the middle of all that, her laugh floated into my room. And I remember sitting up on the bed and saying, but wait a minute, Marcia. The person who lost everything is in the other room laughing. And here you are saying, poor me, I've lost everything. I think you have it wrong. And that day I finally learned the lesson she'd been teaching me for 7 years patiently and waiting for me to receive it. And it was that she's already enough and so am I. And I need to forget about the people who chose not to show up for us anymore after she got hurt because they had self-selected to take themselves out of the picture. And it was the best gift I could get because the people who had stayed were truly the gifts in my life. And the love that we had was the biggest gift in our life. So together we started to just wake up every morning and say, let's see how all of these things that we want to develop can be developed, not by work but by fun. Let's see what intuition leads us to try today. Maybe we're going to mess up, maybe it's going to be tough, or maybe we're going to have a heck of a fun day. And I would say that 80% of the time it's just fun, it's just laughter, it's just learning, it's just being open to possibilities. And the more I've done that, the better Emma has gotten. She is actually diagnosed as blind, but last year she started to track red and yellow. So forget about that blind diagnosis. Forget that nobody wants in the professional world to work with her. Our work with her has been plenty enough.
Okay. Uh,
She has like 20 playlists. She loves every kind of music. And she doesn't go to sleep unless she hears whichever music she wants to hear. All of Me by John Legend is one of her favorites.
okay.
So, I mean, I could keep talking forever, but I think I should just pause here.
Okay, that's awesome. That's awesome. One thing that was really really sticking out to me when you said that everyone left. You know, everyone, as far as the professionals, and I believe you said some family members as well, just decided to remove themselves from the situation.
Yeah, most friends,
And
most family members just sort of never showed up, stopped calling the minute that they heard that she had been brain injured.
oh wow, oh wow. And how did that make you feel? And also, how did that make your daughter feel as well? That some friends and family won't even try to support her through the
Well,
journey of life,
when
even though it may be difficult.
she was hurt because somebody pulled her tube out and she bled out in a hospital and she flatlined for 20 minutes. So she was severely brain injured. She lost all of her senses. She lost her cognitive functions. And she was just 8 months old, so there's very little for her to remember about how life was before.
Okay.
And that's a blessing because she does not know that people chose not to come by anymore, or call. We, however, did have quite a hard time, and that is actually what led me to write Lighting the Path. It's in the back there over my shoulder. It's the book that I wish I had when this happened because I felt so alone and I didn't know where to find hope. I wanted this book to be proof that somebody is holding the other person's hand when it's happening to them and let them know, listen, you're not alone. We are so many of us on this path, and I'm here holding your hand, just 2 steps ahead.
Hmm. Okay. How did you get through that aloneness? Just being alone though, just getting through
That
that.
that was the hardest thing for me out of everything. It was the feeling of being abandoned by the people I thought would have been here for me in the hardest times because the way I
Hmm.
grew up, I thought we were thick. I really thought the bonds were tight. But they say, in hard times, people tend to fall away and only true friends will remain. And lots of people thought it was too uncomfortable for them to be present in our painful, broken time. And they just took themselves out. I felt as if I was totally unlovable and unloved. Despite all of the solid things that I grew up with and the emotions that I grew up feeling, I really lost my sense of self and I felt that I was worthless. And for some years in the middle there, in the first 6 or so years, I would hide how I felt from my husband. It was heavy enough for him, so I wouldn't want him to be bogged down by my issues. So he'd be with her because he had to physically lift her and turn her through the night because she can't move. And I'd be alone in our room on the bed. And I'd wake up, and at 2, 3 in the morning, I'd reach this point where I'd just be crying and I'd say, I don't really see much hope. I'm good at pretending for everybody else. I show up as if I'm positive. I'm the go-getter, and nobody sees that there are cracks in the facade. There's so many masks that I wear. And I would pray to God and I'd say, God, I don't think I can take any more. Please don't wake me up in the morning. So I think I didn't have the guts to do it myself, so I asked him to do it for me. I don't want to endure this anymore because it's like somebody's ripping your guts out, your heart out every day. I was living in a lot of fear about what's going to happen to M because certain things were getting worse over time. There would be more and more things happening, as she got older, as issues happened. And I felt like I couldn't predict what was the next roll of the dice going to bring. And how would I cope? Because we had already been flattened financially. Whatever we had saved had gone in just keeping her alive. And now we had the rest of her life to fund, basically. We had to think about surgeries and seizure medicines and cardiologist bills, and prices on one visit was $2,100 for one visit to some of those doctors. And you'd sit there and, I'd go to a certain therapist, and at the end of every therapy session, she'd say, you know what you need to buy? You need to buy this. You need to get a pool for Emma to be able to swim in. You need to get this piece of equipment. And it wasn't a $50 piece of equipment, it would be thousands and thousands of dollars. And I would look at, by this time I had gotten a nurse to help with them. Couldn't lift her alone. She was at risk for aspiration and all sorts of issues. And so we were paying for a nurse because we don't have funding here in Trinidad. And we're dealing with all of these issues, and I'm looking at the nurse and she's laughing because she knows, you're being told to buy yet another thing. How in heaven's name are we going to afford this? And I just look at her, raise one eyebrow. She'd look at me, smile, and then the therapy session would be over, and we would laugh, and we'd say, yeah, in some other dimension, I'm able to buy this, but not right now. So what are we going to do? Somebody says, take them for hippotherapy. Take Emma for horseback riding. Well, my horseback riding was, I sat on the rocking chair, I put Emma on my thigh, and I went, okay, let's walk, let's trot, let's run, let's gallop, right? And I'm there, and she's riding on the horse, which is my thigh, but she's having a grand old time, and I'm doing the very best I can. And I don't feel guilt about it. I don't feel embarrassed about it, because heck, I'm trying my very best. And if somebody else wants to judge me and say, somebody actually told me, don't speak about your daughter and what you're going through. Pretend that your life is perfect. And that was the most betrayal I could imagine myself committing against my daughter. If I pretended that my life was perfect, perfection being the pre-Emma life, then I would be saying that I preferred that life. And I don't, because Emma is one of the biggest gifts of my life. And the person and the experience I have now, while full of pain, is also full of joy like I have never experienced before.
I I love that. I just love that story, and I love how you did not just give up on your daughter and just listen to what other people had to say on just, oh no, don't talk about your situation in public, and like, God blesses us with children. A lot of people with children each and every day, but when they are having special needs, it's something totally different. My mom raised me having special needs, and we living in Washington D.C. here in the states, and I can imagine how it would be if we had to come out of our pocket to pay for some of those expenses of paying for a wheelchair, or bracelets, or wheelchair alone, $10,000 to $20,000. So it's just, it's outrage. And how you just said the doctors would just keep, just, oh, you need to get this and you need to get that, and I think it was just a way for you to just keep spending money but not really resolving the issue, and having someone to really talk to and confront in with all the pain that you were going through at the time. I just commend you. You are a very, very, very strong woman. You mentioned the book in the background, Lighten the Path, leaning into a hopeful future as a special needs parent, though. And that book made
That's
this
true.
whole journey made you write that book. Can you tell everyone about the book? Yes, yes, it is.
So I call Lighting the Path Emma's book. I so very rarely use the name Lighting the Path, because I think Emma doesn't have a voice, but I've translated so many of the lessons that I feel she came here to teach. And that's
Okay.
why I wrote it. I had this feeling that I needed to write Lighting the Path for many years before I wrote it. I wrote it in 2021, I think it was published. And I remember always telling myself, so what makes you the worthy person to write this? There are so many people who are better suited to this, are smarter than you. If it's people from the first world reading this, won't they say you're just a little East Indian girl from a little third world country? And therefore, doesn't that make you the worst person to even assume that you can write this kind of thing? But then came the pandemic, and in 2020, I woke up one day and I had this sort of clear message just passing through, and the message said, "You will start your book today." And for the first time, I didn't doubt it. I had sat for several years on my computer and poured out the pain and the crying onto the computer and over here into all of these journals, just pouring out what I couldn't say to other people. I had to let it out somehow because it was poisoning me and it was breaking me. So I wrote and I cried out all of the pain, the anger, the hate, the everything, the things that you feel that the world doesn't want you to feel. Because we talk of negative emotions and positive emotions. But guess what? They are all valid emotions. The negative ones we are taught to stuff down and never give voice to. And if we stuff them down, they poison us, they break us more because we never take them out. We never look at them and say, okay, how are you feeling, Marcia? Let's pick this thing apart. Is there jealousy? Is there resentment? Is there anger? Is there guilt? Is there blame? Is there self hate? Is there hate for other people? So many negative emotions were pouring into and out of me. And I felt that if I shared with people that I felt those things, I would be telling them that I was an unworthy, horrible person. So I stuffed it down and I hid it. And I only let people see that I was strong and that I could always show up for my child and that I was always positive and laughing with her and I was always trying something new. But that's fake. That's absolutely fake because that was me one third of the time, right? One third of the time I was numb. One third of the time I was positive and really pushing and really living in joy. And one third of the time I was in the negative side of my emotions. And the more I didn't face those, the more they ate away at who I was, at the genuine, kind, caring person that I think at the center of all of us we are. But we tend to lose connection with that unless we
Yeah.
say to ourselves, listen, listen, there are some not so pretty things that are coming up. And it takes guts to name those things. And it takes guts to say, now, why are you coming up? Why are you knocking on my door? What event, what thing that I experienced 20 years ago am I being triggered about right now through this interaction? And maybe I need to reach back 20 years into the past, pick up that emotion that's ready to be dealt with, and say, okay, what was the root of this? How do I deal with this? And now that I deal with it, I set it free. I no longer need to store it inside of here. And I become a lighter person.
I, I I love it. I actually love it so much, and I thank you for sharing that amazing, story on just feeling so alone, feeling so trapped, and feeling like it was no one in the world to turn to, and all the pain that you were going through. Just raising a special needs daughter and just not knowing what was next, or what was what was basically next though, and that's really awesome though. That led you to write the book and also come up with the podcast that you have, special needs. The Special Needs Moms podcast, or just can you check on the importance and special needs moms and the message that you would like to get out also
Yeah.
through your daughter Emma?
So the Special Needs Parent podcast is the
Mm,
name,
mm,
and the podcast is entirely geared toward the special needs parent, and that's why I titled it the Special Needs Parent Podcast. The reason being, there are many podcasts that work on or offer tips to help the special needs child or the special needs person already, but often we forget that if the caregiver breaks down, there is no support for the special needs person, right? Emma
mm,
would not have a parent to look out for her if I have a meltdown, if I have a mental break, right? If I physically fail to take care of my back, which is a problem, and which often gives me difficulty just moving around. I can't get out of bed. I can't move. I'm blacking out sometimes because of pain in my lower back. And that comes from physical trauma, year after year of lifting a 50-pound child or a 60-pound child. Um, and year after year of emotional things as well that have been studied and shown to cause physical problems with your back, for example. So I decided, you know what? What are the things that a special needs parent and by extension special needs children need? They need a resource that they can go to tell them, listen, it costs nothing, but here are some of the tough things that you're going to face, some of the situations that will come up, some of the emotions that will come up. Here are some of the tips and tools that can change things for you for the better. Here are some happy stories as well. And so it's vignettes or snapshots of the journey, the ups, downs, and in betweens of the life of special needs parenting. And it's my own stories and tips, as well as professionals' interviews to help special needs parents see, what do I need? Am I looking to buy a gift for my child and I don't know how to buy a gift for her for the 7th year in the same developmental place? That's what I've been through recently.
mm.
You know,
Yeah. What keeps you motivated? What inspires you on the daily basis, knowing that a lot of stuff that you have been through, and all the pain and just everything, just being a strong woman. Yeah. What inspires
many things inspire me, but this is a big part of the inspiration.
you?
That's Emma and Brian. I'll show it again. That's Emma and Brian. Some years ago, but I really like that picture, so it's my wallpaper. Those two bright little sparks in my life, they are a big reason to keep going, even when you want to say, I don't have any more in me. I can find more. Also, sometimes the pain that we experience becomes motivation. So, your pain, you have the choice to use it in one of two ways. You can use your pain to say, I don't want to feel this pain anymore, I give up. Or you can use your pain and say, I don't want anybody else to ever feel pain like that, and that becomes my reason for doing the work I do. And that's why I'm an Overwhelm Coach. That's why I help working women and executives who are juggling a lot of things and have big life demands to create more hope and more meaning and more joy and more fulfillment in their lives. So that's a big part. And then there's a last thing that has become a big motivation. I actually have a PhD. I don't talk about it much. I don't use the title much. But that PhD took me 10 years to get.
Okay.
And the reason it took me 10 years to get is M got brain injured very early in that PhD journey. So I had this brain injured child who was vegetative, and people were telling me pull the plug on basically. And an aunt sent a message for me. She didn't call me, she didn't talk to me directly. She was in academia, and she sent a message to tell me, well, Marsh, your life is really hard now and it's not going to get any easier, so you should give up. You should quit your PhD and you should give up. That was the caring message that I received. And I remember getting so pissed, extremely pissed off, and saying, well, if this is what you are holding for me as my future, I'll show you the opposite. I will do the opposite. I'm going to thrive. I may walk slow, but slow is nothing to be embarrassed about, right? Because I am persistent. I am resilient. I have grit. I have gumption. And sometimes you need somebody cheering for the opposite failure in order to push you to the other thing, right? There's an experiment that I remember hearing about, and what they said is, if you vote for party A and you absolutely hate party B, and there's something that you find really hard to achieve, a goal that you keep failing at, set your cap at that goal and tell a friend, if I don't meet this goal in 6 weeks, in 2 months, then I'm going to give $1,000 or $100 to party B, the one I hate. Right?
Yeah.
So what you do is you say, I'm betting on me. And if I fail, the punishment, there isn't a reward, there's a punishment. The punishment is I have to pay my money into the cause that I absolutely stand against. And that's exactly what happened with that statement that my family member sent, right? She said, I'm betting against you. And I said, really? Well, I bet the opposite.
Hey, that's what you have to do. You have to bet the opposite, and you've been betting the opposite. How people have left you, friends and professionals left you at the early stage because they didn't see much hope, and how people would just turn your back on you. So I commend you so much. I thank you for sharing that amazing, amazing story. All the links will be down below, you guys, if you definitely want to check out the Special Needs Parents podcast. And make sure you subscribe and tell everyone that Dre from the 1130 podcast sent you over there. This has been an amazing one. But before you do go, though, tell everyone where they can catch the Special Needs Parent podcast. And also, you have any questions, any shout outs, anything you would like to say.
The Special Needs Parent podcast is available on Anchor, on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, on Google Podcasts, and most other places where you would look for a podcast, including Audible. It's totally free, and I think we are up to close to 70 episodes now. So it's likely that whatever is really bogging you down, we have some solutions, we have some stories, we have some hope to support you. In terms of shout outs, I want to shout out to all the other people, and they remain nameless because there are so many, but all the other people who life is really sometimes feeling like it's crushing, and who say, you know what, no matter how uncomfortable it is, no matter how much the demands are, let me look inside myself and let me see, who am I? What's the hurt that I felt that I feel committed to changing in this world so that I help other people to not have to face that hurt alone? What's the difference that I mean to make? And what's my vision for the better life, the more joyful and fulfilling life for me and by extension, everybody I influence?
I like it. I like it so so much, Marsha. Thank you once again for coming here on the 1130 podcast show. It was really awesome having you on, and I can't wait to have you back on because I was just thinking before we came on air. I had a couple of other. I just had a parent as well not too long ago. Her name was Colin Fowl, and she's also a parent. of a disabled young woman. And I do a podcast from time to time with a guy named Luke, who he's in a wheelchair as well. So I think it would be really cool to really get a great episode with all of us. Or I can definitely share some of the information from those individuals to definitely come your way to be on the Special Needs Parents podcast, or just to share their story as well. And I will be a guest on your podcast as well in the near future, you guys. So
Yes, I'm looking forward
definitely.
to having you on.
Yes, yes, I'm looking forward to coming on. Me and Marsha has definitely arranged some things and we set it up. So yes, you guys, you can definitely catch me on the Special Needs Parents podcast in the near future. So definitely make sure you subscribe and check her out. So this was awesome. This was great, you guys. Marsha, once again, thank you for coming through here on the podcast. We're going to chat in just a bit. For everyone who's watching, thank you guys so much. Once again, the links will be down below. Don't move. Don't go nowhere. We're going to take a quick break. We got more of the show coming up right after this, the WTF moment and more. You're listening and you're watching to the 11:30 podcast.
Sometimes people hit me up and they like, yo, B, why you always yelling? And I'm like, yo, I'm not yelling, bro. This yelling right here, yo. And I'm telling them like, yo, bro, I don't be yelling. I just talk loud. You feel me? That's what I'm trying to tell you.
We back here on the 11:30 podcast show. Yo, Marcia, appreciate you for coming through here on the 11:30 podcast show. It was awesome having you on. All the links will be down below in the description so you can follow and definitely subscribe and get at Marcia and check out the Special Needs Parents podcast, man, for real. Like I said earlier in the show as well with Marcia, I will be a guest on her podcast, so definitely check out that wonderful episode that's coming out really soon, man. For real. That was dope, man. Really dope, man. Just uplifting, man. Just like to stay uplifting here on the podcast and have great inspiration here, and how Marcia, being a special needs parent, didn't let that, necessarily stop her doing for what she had to do, but just keep overcoming those challenges. And that's what life is, man. We don't have success without struggle, man. And yo, man, definitely big shout outs to Marcia for coming through here on the podcast show. But you guys, man, before we roll on out of here and wrap it up, you guys, you know what time it is. It's time for the WTF moment of the week, you guys. Yes, WTF moment of the week. And yo, man, crazy. Seen this video yesterday, man. You guys check this out, man, right here. Newborn baby just born, man. And my mama and my mother-in-law saw me doing this to Amir, they would have slapped my ass. Like, so far, I don't even know if I have a face anymore, though. But yeah, man, like different strokes for different folks. I don't know, but yo, a newborn baby was born, and this father, man, is going viral, as you can see in this video. For I don't really understand what it means, or like, no, like the little newborn baby is born. He's a newborn baby, and the father they're just dropping hundreds down on the baby and stuff like that. I mean, I know some people like, shit, give me that money, I take it, but come on, bro. Like, one of the dirtiest things, dog, in the world, that go from your hand to another hand to this hand to everyone hand, bro. Like, one of the dirtiest things, and you're gonna put it on the newborn baby, bro. We don't think. I mean, I don't know what his ideology was just like, oh, well, yeah, man, my little man got money, I don't know. Was he putting down the child support money? I like, come on, bro. WTF? What is going on in the world, man? Definitely, what is going on that you literally have to do that? You couldn't put anything else down, but you had to put some money down. Or put it in the savings account or something. Now you got to do it. You got to show off on the internet, whoever recording for you. Come on. WTF? WTF all the way, man, for real. But you guys, man, awesome show here on this week's episode of the podcast. Two back-to-back episodes. Definitely shout out to George P. Brooks, man, and also shout out to Marcia for coming on the 11:30 podcast this week, man. Two great episodes, man. But I'm about to head on out of here and wrap it up. But before I do, you guys, don't forget to follow the 11:30 podcast on all social media platforms. Follow me on Twitter at the 11:30 podcast, like the 11:30 podcast on Facebook. If you haven't done so already, I don't know what you're waiting for. Definitely hit that subscribe button down below, you guys. Follow the 11:30 podcast on TikTok. Yes, man, I'm trying to get my TikTok thing going on, and new merch is definitely coming soon, you guys. I know some of you guys been asking. New merch is definitely coming soon. New topics and everything, man. So some awesome guests still to come in this, sort of wrapping up this sort of season, I guess to say. On the podcast show. So it's going to be fun, man. But I thank everyone for tuning in. Until next time, man. Stay safe, stay blessed. Give all the glory to God, man. Won't he do it? Yo, it's your man Dre, aka Dre on Wheels. And I'm out.
Perfect.